Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John worries about me driving in the snow and considers getting his PhD. Meanwhile, I talk to my Uber driver and immediately regret it and ponder drinking from a boot. Plus, a conversation about the Illuminati and other conspiracies, our collective need for gossip and secrets, and what it says about our culture. Today's episode is not sponsored by Doggy Doors, convenient for pets and burglars.
Johnny, it's the Snowmageddon edition of Talk About That.
A winter wonderland.
I mean, let me tell you something. It's the most snow in our area of Nashville that I remember in a long, long time.
They said it's more snow than we get in a year.
Wow.
4.7 inches is the yearly average for Nashville, and we got between 6 and 8.
Wow.
Depending on where you are.
6.5 on my back deck, according to
my
amateur meteorologist wife.
Yeah.
Who this is her Super Bowl.
What, is she upset that you called her an amateur? She's like, I'm a professional meteorologist.
I only mean amateur in the sense of she doesn't get paid to do it.
How did telling the weather turn into meteorology? You know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be the weather person or the weather girl. And then at some point,
right,
weather people started being like, I'm a meteorologist. You know? Like, it felt like, when did that happen? It was like the 90s, right? 80s and 90s.
I think meteorology.
Every weather person got a Doppler. We don't know what it meant. We just knew, like, Doppler was next level.
I would imagine that meteorology happened earlier than that.
No, I'm saying, like, I know meteorology was a term, but I'm saying the idea that, you got a weather girl? We got a meteorologist.
Yeah.
It, like, you hired somebody that was, because when we grew up with Margie Eisen in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Margie Eisen was like one of those, like, she was just kind of a cheeky, folksy, like middle-aged lady who was like, it's going to rain, y'all. And you'd be excited. Listen, there was literally umbrellas. When I grew up in Knoxville, there was umbrellas that people would sell. And the umbrella, when you unfurled the umbrella, it said on it,
it's going to rain, y'all.
No, it said, Margie said it would.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how ingrained she was in weather culture.
Like a psychic.
Yeah.
Like you were visiting a medium. Yeah. Is what you really were on the news.
So she was so beloved. And then at some point, we replaced her with a meteorologist. She retired, and I don't know if she was forced out. I need to know the real story behind, like, was Margie kind of like,
Maybe Margie was a meteorologist.
Because she was like, I'm not going to Doppler school, or whatever they... whatever they decide you have to do. She was like, I'm a grown woman. You can't tell me. I got umbrellas. And they were like, no, Margie, right this way. And they push her out the door. And in comes some dude that was like, he's got a degree, and he knew he wasn't just throwing darts at a board to see what was going to, Well,
Margie was going to get right probably 30% of the time.
Exactly. It's East Tennessee, so yeah, it's going to rain probably.
It's probably going to rain sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just wonder when all that, like, it's a big deal to have Doppler, and then every news station, it was very important to have the traffic copter. Like, we've got the eye in the sky.
Right.
If you're just like, hey, I've been out there, it's real bad. That didn't go as well as like, we know what's happening. We've been in the air. Here's a shot from the eye in the sky.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't just a guy in the corner going, smacking his. We're up here, we're I-40, it's real bad. Yeah.
Kid runs into the room, you hear it. Daddy, shh, Daddy's working.
Daddy's in the copter, son. Yeah. I apologize for my voice. I have a little cold, but I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, I think you've never sounded better.
Everything's fine. There's a depth to my voice today that I think is...
If only it would bring a depth to your sense of character.
No.
Integrity.
There's no way to do that.
Intelligence. Anything, really.
I think what happened was I got off of a boat. I was swimming in the ocean one day in the Caribbean. And then the next day, I was fighting to get home before the ice storm. And I got out, and it was, 4 or 5 inches of snow on the road by then. And then I barely power slid to my house, and then it piled up some more. And I think that swing in weather is what caused this.
Well, we woke up this morning on the back deck, the little thermometer said -4.
That's not great.
But I will say, I was not a non-anxious presence while you were trying to get home.
You were almost annoying. Like, you weren't annoying, but I was like, John, if I keep texting you back, what if I'm driving now? You've made it more dangerous.
Texting and driving is
You're like,
fine.
well, where are you now?
Listen, here's what I
You
knew.
were worried, I know.
You kept acting like, here's the thing. This is not normal for us. And I didn't want to come out and say it.
What's not normal?
This kind of snow and ice.
No, it's not.
And so I'd gone out in the 4-wheel drive Jeep.
Yeah.
And I did fine, but at one point I had a pretty significant fishtail on a turn, and I thought, this is a 4-wheel drive. You were going to be in a rented car. And I thought, he doesn't know what he's coming in. You're like, we'll be fine. I was like, you won't. People are stranded. Like, trucks are stranded on the interstate.
Yeah, the whole situation was weird because I was coming back from a cruise, and I didn't want to pay for parking for 9 days at the Nashville airport, which is ridiculous now. Like, parking is crazy. It's $20 a day, $25 a day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not doing that. So I rented a car. I looked at Ubers from my house to the airport.
Yeah, but
the Uber was going to be, because I have 4 bags because I'm taking my merch with me on the boat. And so I had to get an XL. The XL Uber from my house to the airport was over $100. So I was like, all right, not doing that. And I looked just like, I wonder if I can get a one-way rental.
Yeah.
There's a Hertz near me. And I was like, a one-way rental was like $50. So I was like, I'll just do that. So I took a one-way rental to the airport, dropped it off the day of, and then took my bags over and we check in. And so I was like, I'll get one coming home. So I did one coming back, and it was the same thing. The Uber was going to be about $95. A rental car one way was $55. I was like, done.
How far is the drop off?
It's a little bit of a walk, and it was icy, but we just, whatever. You're going to have to go. You got to walk. If you walk to the Uber area at Nashville Airport, it's a walk too. It's like, half a mile.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever. So
and it's Lord of the Flies in there.
Yeah, but then as we're landing, I'm thinking, or this is the day of, I was like, this is probably a bad idea to have, because I don't know what rental car they're going to give me.
Right.
Rental car,
there could be a big Yaris or something.
Right, there could be a big run on rental cars, and then they're just out.
Right.
And then when we got closer, I was like, if I can get to my car and hold it, and then just go back and help carry with the bags, because I thought there's not a worse time to also get an Uber, because there's a big run on Ubers. Everybody's deciding to last minute get a ride because they don't want to drive their car. Secondly, the Ubers are probably going to overcharge you because it's like surge pricing or whatever, because it's ice. Thirdly, you're getting in a car
with a guy
you do not know how he drives on ice.
Right. Or she.
Sorry. You do not know how this person drives on ice. And you're just like, yeah, I'll put my life in your hands. So I felt okay about the whole thing. But then I got over to get my rental car, and they didn't have any all-wheel drives. And I was like, all right. So I got like an SUV, but it was not all-wheel drive. But so we power slid to the house.
Well, I was going to come get you.
Yeah.
Or get stuck with you.
You did, but you kept texting me.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, John, it's okay.
It wasn't okay, though.
It was very fatherly.
I did have that.
You.
I had that 6 responsibility thing. Like, my babies aren't safe right now.
I'm going to go fishtail my Jeep to you. Maybe you're just a bad driver in the ice. You're like, my Jeep fishtailed, so I know it was bad. Like, maybe you were just...
Maybe I was doing donuts at the time.
Yeah.
No, I have navigated just fine ever since then. And the roads are still covered. Like,
the roads, it's not melted because it stayed cold.
Yeah.
Which it usually is gone by, 4 or 5 hours here.
Right.
They let school out. Everybody freaks out, and then it melts, and everybody's like, what did we do? This has not been that.
No.
School is still out.
But they just released us from Thursday.
Yeah.
Which sounds like we were in prison.
Well, they just released us.
Which is how it feels for our kids, I'm sure, sometimes.
Ugh.
Well, I'm glad you made it home. Do you ever, like, when you're riding in an Uber, become frustrated with what you see? Like, if they're taking you home or something, and obviously the GPS doesn't necessarily know the best way.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating for me when, especially in Mount Juliet is how do I put this delicately? A bustling cesspool of traffic.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it is, the infrastructure is not commiserate to the traffic congestion.
It's a bustling cesspool. But usually bustling, I don't know, I don't think of bustling
as
negative. Bustling is like normally a positive, and cesspool is bad. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, the English language is your playland, my friend. You should write books.
And like, you just can't get through there. And so when they pull off and it's telling them to go straight into the eye of the traffic storm, I'm like, dude, just turn by Cracker Barrel. I just tell them what to do.
You do?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Like, I am.
But they feel like they have to do what Uber says. Because if they divert from that, does Uber get a report?
I don't know.
That they've gone off track and they're like taking you to a ditch to murder you?
I'm like, look, this isn't...
Because that Uber thing is to protect you. It's to, like, he stayed en route. He delivered you when he said he was going to. Like, it's a whole thing.
Well, maybe
it's a safety
they think
feature.
I've held the Uber driver hostage and I'm making him go somewhere different.
Yeah.
Really, I'm just trying to get home faster. I'm like, look, this road wasn't here 3 months ago.
Right.
But now it gets us home faster. So it's not going to show up in your GPS.
Mm-hmm.
So, please. And they usually do it. Because I've Ubered home from the airport quite a bit.
Yeah. Do you talk to your Uber driver? other than to give him directions and
It depends.
orders?
Yeah.
I struck up a conversation I had several Uber drivers before we took off on the cruise because we didn't have a rental car that day. When we got there, we had like a day before we left. So I was like, let's go get dinner. We went somewhere to get dinner. And I'm talking, and for whatever reason, he asked what I did and what I was there for, and I told him, which is usually a mistake.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Usually a mistake, but I was like, whatever. He was super nice. He was like, oh, yeah. He goes, what do you think about all this Cat Williams stuff? And I was like, oh, boy. Because Cat Williams did an interview, comedian Cat Williams. I don't know if you know who Cat Williams is. He's a comedian. Okay. Cat Williams he's a black comic. He did a interview with Shannon Sharp on a podcast. It went super viral because basically he threw a million other black comics under the bus. Said they stole jokes, said that they were industry plants that didn't deserve their success. Like a million. I mean, super famous people like Steve Harvey and like other people who were, you would think he was friends with, but he was
he's no longer friends.
He spilled all the tea. So it went 100 million views. So he was asking me what I thought about it, and I was like, whatever. And I go, yeah. I said, some of the things he said, whatever. I mean, comedians do steal jokes, and if somebody didn't get their due credit, I get it, and there's a lot of whatever. I said, but then he got he's a little bit off. Cat had some history of drug use, and I said, there's some stuff he said that I thought, whatever. I said, he goes, I've not watched it. I go, well, he said Ludacris was with the Illuminati and was offered $200 million. 10 years ago, and Cat was offered it too and turned it down, and so they gave it to Luda, and that's why he's got those 10 movies with Fast and the Furious, and all he had to do was marry a white woman. He just said all this stuff that was crazy, and I go, so you can't take it, and he goes, no, I believe all that. He goes, I don't know about the other stuff. He goes, but I believe. He goes, Illuminati. He goes, Jay-Z, Beyonce, they're sacrificing children. I go,
oh wow.
And now I'm in this Uber with this guy,
right.
It wasn't it was so bizarre. And Curry's and she's texting her friend. She goes,
she's got
Jonnie,
one pulled up.
Jonnie has opened his mouth, and now this Uber driver has pulled us into a Q hole.
A Q hole.
And so I was like, when we got out, I was like, alrighty, we're going to go get dinner.
Let's not do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, John? That's a great moment because I think we want to talk about this a little more.
Yes.
This is worth talking about. So
sure.
Let's take a moment to hear a word from a few of our sponsors. I'm not besmirching those. I mean, like you said earlier, we were having pre-talk conversations.
Yeah.
Pre-recorded conversations. Pre-talk conversations is just
more
conversation.
That's when we were babies.
Yeah.
I said coo, you said coo.
That's how we start every one of these. But there are some things, I do believe in cover-ups.
Yeah.
Right? I do believe that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I also don't think we can throw everything out.
Yeah.
That there are things that are unexplained.
All right.
Yes,
we're just looking for an easy explanation to something, and so that's where all these things come from. Is we want to be like, aha, we want this huge organized evil,
right,
rather than believing that there's just a presence of evil in the world that can infect all of us and make us make bad choices. We want there to be oh, it's these 7 people that are evil. They're responsible for the evil in the world. And it's Jay-Z. And so, man, and then my favorite part about that is honestly, and I won't go too far down this hole because then we'll just get emails and letters, actually. But the idea that they're in this super secret group that controls the world and drinks blood and all this nonsense. But then they're not smart enough to not show it off every time. Every time they do a Super Bowl performance, they got to show the symbol because that's what they're doing. Okay, guys. Right.
They left you Easter eggs like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's always my thing. There's such a hubris. And I do believe that this comes from the Enlightenment thinking, which moved from more collective culture into individualism. And what it said is that it's not that, first of all truth is knowable. Okay, that's a part even of Christianity informed principles that led into the Enlightenment.
Leaning into Gnosticism, where it's we've got the secret handshake.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a truth that's knowable, and then Enlightenment says not only is it knowable, but it's knowable by you as an individual.
Uh-huh.
If you think hard enough, try hard enough, really get there, read enough, or don't read enough, just listen in our case. But there's a trickle down over the centuries of that, of saying not only is there something out there that can be known, it can be known by me. And so that's always my thing. Look, for all the QAnon conspiracies or whatever, it's that these are global organizations that are so strong they can. Heck, people believe they can move weather patterns, right? And so all the way down to elections and all the things. But what they could not account for was your grandma on her Facebook page. Right. Like they couldn't account for.
She unlocked the code.
We don't see the absurdity a little bit that I believe if something is out there that's that big and that important at some point, then if it's too important for me to be able to figure out, if I believe I can, then what it really is you're saying that you're the one who runs the world. You're smarter than the people who run the world because they weren't smart enough to hide it from you.
Yeah.
So there's such a grand hubris and pride to it going, no. I figured it out with just me and Google and Instagram and that, so that's always how it gets me is the.
Well, yeah, I think they even have a slider now in your Uber where you can be like, let's keep it quiet. Like they actually added it where you can be like, I prefer quiet rides.
Yeah.
To where they know not to. And that feels odd to me because we're supposed to be salt and light. We're supposed to be, but then you get sucked into a cue hole.
I really do struggle. I try to talk.
I go, hey, what's up? I go, thanks. Like if it was like if somebody picked me up in the ice and snow, I would have definitely been like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Although I do want them to pay attention to the road.
That's true.
As well. I think that there is there's a line. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Engaging, even though I'm a pastor, and or I'm an ambivert possibly, I have both, but.
Land and water.
Yeah, right. And so both hands, left and right.
John went to the glasses as he started talking about this. I wonder what's coming, something deep.
Well, I'd pulled
For
up
you just
something
listening, John pulled up on the glasses.
screen.
This is like Kornheiser, if you ever watch PTI. Tony will even say, I'm going to the glasses. And he reads things from a pad, like stats he's written down on a pad. He'll say, I'm going to the glasses.
Well, I was going to read, because I was reading, I sent you guys in the group some stuff.
Yeah.
There's this amazing little book.
Okay.
It's called
The Bible.
God's Ways for Daily Living or something. It sounds very like, oh, that's not something I would want to read. But it's Tim Keller.
Okay.
Like if Tim Keller...
I saw you shared a quote from it into our small group.
Yeah, and I told my wife this morning again, because it's a quick, it literally is probably a 60-second read.
Yeah.
And it's on Proverbs, and it's going through Proverbs. And
the whole book is a 60-second read?
The whole thing. I couldn't believe it. Keller really condensed.
That's a pamphlet. You've been given a pamphlet. That's a gospel tract.
60 seconds a day.
Okay, 60 seconds a day.
You might take a little longer, but...
I need to get this book. This is right up my alley.
And so, but it's so good. It's little, but I told my wife this morning, I was like, the loss of Tim Keller continues to be, in my opinion, maybe the greatest loss in the 21st century to the Christian intellectualism, at least, or the shepherding side. But he was talking about in Proverbs, in where wisdom basically is having interaction with different kinds of people and their foolishness.
Yeah.
So instead of me quoting it all, I'll just kind of describe it. And he talks about the mockers. Mm-hmm. Like yesterday, I think, was on the mockers.
Yeah.
And it was describing 21st century culture. Mm-hmm. And it was that the mockers are the ones that make themselves out to be smarter and continually criticize others. And that usually it's those who are less informed or looking, to your point, for an easier answer or a summative explanation for the chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's easier to bring it into someone and they go, and we like mocking. We like gossip and we like mocking.
Right.
One scripture in Proverbs says that gossip is like a tasty morsel. Mm-hmm. And so I will tell my daughter that with the kids at school sometimes in the teenage world. I was like, look, it's easier to talk crap about people because it's tasty.
Yeah.
Like everyone around you's doing that.
Yeah.
Because, it's like the thing you want to hear about it, right? You want the dirt on people, and that's actually a scriptural thing. But then when you begin to move from that into like just putting someone else down and saying, no, I'm the one who has the knowledge, what it says in Proverbs is that eventually wisdom will mock you, right? That it catches up with you. So it's a fascinating thing to me how our conspiracy mindset is entrenched in a tribal, this binary enemy that I have to be good, someone else has to be bad, right? And I have an answer, someone else has deception, and you can trust me because look how stupid they are, and it just deflects completely from any stupidity that I may have.
Yeah,
at that point even you find in that attitude people defending their chief mockers'
Right.
stupidity even. Like, no, they didn't mean that, because to your point, you made a point earlier again in pre-conversation, sorry, that there are certain things that if they came true, we would know what to do because we've gone so far down that hole.
Yeah.
Like, we've gone so far now to be able to pull back and say, maybe this guy went too far. Or maybe this group went too far. Or maybe this idea is not balanced. It's not a middle way. It's kind of on the extremes. And I was there for a while now, but the pull back feels like such a shameful defeat now that we miss wisdom.
Right.
Which wisdom says is, of course you should pull back. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. It's okay to walk back. It's never too late to turn around and walk the right direction, no matter how long you've gone the wrong, right?
Yeah.
But it feels shameful to us. I'd be curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think part of it is that what I said earlier about, like, there's a way to boil it down that feels comfortable to us. If these 7 people could be stopped, or they're so powerful we could never stop them because they have all the money in the world, and so what's the use?
Yeah.
But I can still put them in this box and say they're the evil ones. We're good. And it's hard to confront the evil within ourselves. We don't want to do that. We want to say, like, no, it's the people out there, and then we make up horrible, whatever in our minds.
Yeah.
Because like James Woods, who's become an alt-right lunatic over the last few years, a famous actor, very talented guy, but over the last 10 years, he's lost his mind. He's an alt-right lunatic. And so somebody said the other day, like, how bad is Hollywood, to somebody who doesn't understand how bad it is. And he says, multiply your worst fears by 100. Well, that's just something you just say.
Right.
Like, he's not being offered Hollywood roles anymore, and he's very bitter about it.
Yeah.
So now he gets to tell this person who wants to believe the worst about Tom Hanks or whatever, that they're, whatever. And so he just goes, just multiply. It's like, this is just irresponsible at this point.
Right. It's just...
You can be like, call it Holly weird and say, like, oh, they have different values than we do or whatever. You can say that and say, like, I don't like when they do political grandstanding at their award shows. Okay. But to say they're hideous monsters who are doing unspeakable things without any proof, like, it's just so irresponsible. And then for somebody who's on the outside looking in now of Hollywood to now be like, I'm gonna make a lot of money now because I can grandstand on these ideas. Yeah. I just think it's so stupid and irresponsible.
Well, and the lack of proof not being a reason not to believe anymore.
Yeah.
It is astounding to me, because I think, and if there's anything that alarms me about democratic society in particular, it's that doesn't bother us anymore. That now...
Like, the lack of proof is the proof of the conspiracy. It just proves it's so much more sophisticated than we thought.
Right. Or when proof does come, I can't take it at face value.
No, because it might be mainstream media.
Right. I can't
But
say...
where did the story come from? Who confirmed it?
Again, I mean, I will say this. This is because there's a pet peeve of mine on some things. This is not about who should have won the election in 2020. This is not about that.
Yeah.
Like, I will accept the results of whoever won the election in 2020 based upon democratic voting systems placed into our Constitution. It's when 70 plus courts have ruled that they can't find any, that these results were valid. At that point, if you believe in the justice system, like, this is what makes democracy so amazing, is that we have these checks and balances. And so, yes, is it possible for there to be a conspiracy or for there to be fraud? Yeah, it's possible. And the Constitution has a remedy for that. And it's the judicial system, which we're supposed to then have, I mean, I'm using a term here, faith in. So I may not have faith in every judge, but when now 70, many who wanted the election to go a different direction because they were appointed by, conservative presidents, when we can't now go, when it doesn't even, blip on the radar.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to now say the conspiracy goes so fast in the judicial system, but if you can't even stop for a second and say, maybe there's something there data-driven that's significant, because I find comfort in that. I go, okay, the system now, for all of its flaws,
right?
If it's this many independent sources looking at data and evidence, but now you don't have to have proof to believe narrative.
Right. Well, or they used to be a thing with comedy, like Jon Stewart talked about that. He was kind of lamenting that his whole show on the Daily Show was the emperor has no clothes. That's the comedy principle of showing you, like, this is what you believe. This is why I can show you. I can strip this away and show you the emperor has no clothes. And that used to be the thing.
Right.
That was the purpose of comedy. You could kind of chip away. And I wouldn't say you'd change hearts and minds. I'm not even sure if that helps anymore. But at some point now, you say, hey, the emperor is naked. And they go, well, you drink blood of children. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they don't, it's so crazy.
Or your emperor's naked too. So
right, your emperor's even more naked.
Right.
Well, what's weird is, like, I think about that too, like social media posts and things. Even like us, we're careful on the podcast most days. Today, for whatever reason, we're talking more political things, but most days we're pretty careful. I think that like, it used to be, you would say, like, oh, well, I need to get my views out there. I don't think people change their mind about issues anymore. I think they change their mind about you.
Yeah.
Like, if I go, well, this is what I believe, and this is why, and here's all the things this is the reasons I believe these things. They might not, they're not listening to that. They stopped listening at your belief, and they go, I thought Jonnie was a good one.
Right.
And now I realize that he's a woke, whatever they decide, whatever the pejorative is, or he's a Trumper, or he's a whatever box we put people in. And they throw you away. They go, So they've changed their mind about you.
That's a fascinating.
Not the issue.
You could put that out, Jonnie, on social media, and it would probably gain traction. But
I'm not gonna. This is gonna be our book that we release.
Ooh.
Very soon, and from HarperCollins.
Oh well, that's wow. You
I'm calling my shot. I'm calling my shot.
Well, and I want to state again to comment on election fraud, which is literally right now a swirling. I mean, it's as deep around us as this snow right now. I mean, like, we're in an election year.
That was a heck of a metaphor. You put on the glasses for that metaphor.
Come on, man, I did. But like, I don't consider that being political.
Yeah.
Because I didn't speak to, like I said, I don't really, like, I may have an opinion, but I'm speaking now as a history and political science teacher and a biographer. Like, I'm speaking about someone who tries to find the facts about someone's story. And understands, hopefully, it's just a minute process of the legal system and those things. Right. I'm not smarter than the lawyers and all those things. I'm not saying that.
No, not even close.
Not even close. But like, to say that I think there's a valid point. Yeah, if you hear someone's pastor who is, literally, I'm a believer and I'm not a leftist or a Marxist. Like, I'm just not. I get to decide that.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just call me that. But if I have a viewpoint based in the judicial system about the 2020 election, which everybody around us has a viewpoint, but now, again, you're going to be just destroyed. We're scared to even say those things, and we try to be wise because it's not what all this is about all the time. But it plays into it. Like, we have these silos where the wisdom of Scripture, or that we won't allow it into. Yeah. Like, don't bring your politics. And I've told our church this a bunch. Like, we have not gotten into politics in our church, but politics came to the door of our church. Mm-hmm. And so there has to be some reaction at some point to help disciple in that arena. Yeah. And not telling people how to vote or how to believe and all those things, but to say, when your reaction is aligned with God's ways or not, here are the mirrors of Scripture for you to hold up with your own community too. And we're not telling you whether you're right or wrong. You take these things as what they're for and look at them. So interestingly enough, Jonnie, because my quote had nothing to do with this.
Oh, is this time for your quote?
But I think it's time for the quote because it might play into it. It wasn't deliberate, so I'm sorry. Here we go. This is a little segment we like to call They Talked About That. I feel like I'm accepting an award.
Or being like, you've went too long on your speech and you're being played off.
Oh, that's more likely. That's a pretty likely scenario.
Also, my wife, Laura. I want to thank her.
Oh, my gosh. What did I do? Yeah. Margaret Thatcher.
Yes.
Margaret Thatcher said, power is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. Mm. And this is from a powerful lady. Yeah. Power is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. Yeah. And I think what a telling, and again, this is really not about politics for me. I think power happens on the personal level
Yeah.
as much as anywhere. As a parent, I struggle with this because anytime I find myself having to proclaim, because I'm your dad, I've had to,
right.
like, now you're in this,
Yeah.
because
I'm the parent and you are the child.
right. And there's times you have to,
Yeah.
I think, do that. Or I'm sure really good parents who are listening are like, no, I found the secret to not ever doing that.
Oh, really?
But there are moments you're like, we're at the sort of, ground zero of this arrangement right now.
Yeah.
And it is that I am the parent and you are not.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to make this decision, and that's going to be what it is. And I need you to align.
How does
with
it go when you do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It goes, we get the thing done that we need to get done.
And bitterness builds.
Well, I don't know.
No, John, you're fine. You're a good parent.
No, I don't know.
I don't think you pull that out all the time. I don't think that's something it's not your go-to.
No. But you do think Thatcher's right there that you do lose something when you have to proclaim how powerful you are. You lose some of that power. Mm-hmm. I think it's like a comedian saying how funny they are.
Oh, brutal.
Right.
Or like blaming the crowd. That's what you see a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. That's a painful thing to watch, is a comedian not getting the laugh he thought he should get and then being like, I don't think y'all heard me. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
That's a preacher thing, too.
Yeah, it's like, woo.
Guys, I'm preaching better than you're shouting.
Yeah. It's like,
we don't get a lot of shouting.
No, they heard you. They heard you fine. Yeah. Man.
What would you do if I said that one Sunday? Guys, I'm preaching better than you. I'm gonna break it out. We're not a shouting kind of church.
No, but I want you to do it.
What I do is I pick at them.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I did it a little bit Sunday. I did it during announcements because we're doing our annual surveys for community, And I'll just be like, look, guys, this may be the most exciting things that we do all year.
Yeah.
And I just really built it up. I was like, it's this survey. There's a QR code in the screen. I'm like, I said, people come out of the woodwork. They ask me to talk more about it. So that's why I'm up here doing it right now.
Please fill out these multiple choice questions.
And I can see by the looks on your faces right now that you are riveted. Like you can't wait. Look at all the phones. Look, I'm just going to stay in here while all the phones are lifted to the screen and it's like one phone.
Yeah.
But so the quieter it gets, like the more I'm likely
you lean into it.
I lean into it as a,
Yeah.
I don't even know if they laugh. I think some of them laugh. There's laughing.
There's a chortle.
I don't know. What do you, I don't know. I need them to do the survey. So back to the original thing, like, hey, I'm going to get this one way or another.
Yeah.
Johnny, have you completed your survey?
I have not.
Oh, that's why I put all this in here.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to have to proclaim to you how powerful I am.
I don't know if I got the survey. Did you email it? Because I wasn't at service. I was on a boat.
Yeah, it's been emailed.
I'm on a boat, John.
Yeah, you were out sailing the high seas.
Oh, man. What a time we had.
I do think that there is, and I'm writing historically right now, and that sounds like I've written in the past. I've gone back in time. I'm writing on historical subjects right now.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, man.
Right.
And I'm reading and writing on him some. And like, talk about a guy who showed up humbly as a leader. Mm-hmm. And he took strong measures. I mean, you can't find a place in history where literally the man's election caused,
the country to tear itself apart.
The country to states to begin to secede from the Union.
Yeah.
As he is saying to them, please don't secede from the Union.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to attack you. Like, I'm
the president. You are the states. He tried. He tried to do. It was a.
Well, I mean, but he never crossed that. I mean, again, he was very human and was depressed and all kinds of things, and would get. It's not like he was above the humanity that all of us, struggle with. But I think that he saw the office, though, as a citizen first office.
Yeah.
At first he was a citizen. Like there is a common respect among him and other citizens. Like, hey, and he lost almost every election he'd ever run for until he was elected president. I mean, it's crazy. And then he was elected president in the most volatile time.
This gives me hope.
I mean, in American history.
I think I'm going to run.
I think you should do it.
Can I just say we need a presidential candidate that's not 80 years old? Is that fair?
Wow,
is that a fair
you're
point?
Going right into politics again. I will say, these are the oldest people who've ever had the office. If either one, these are the oldest presidents in American history. And that is a little bit it's not ageism to say. I think there's some article in, I don't forget, it was Wall Street Journal or something, where they asked people in their 70s and 80s.
Do you think
what they thought about a president being in their late 70s or early 80s, and I don't think any of them thought that
they were like, finally, one for us. They were like, get out of here.
I think it was like, so interesting.
Oh boy. Well, it's those are our choices. And John, let's go all the way back, since you're going to write historically.
Oh.
Let's go all the way back this week in history. It's the segment we call Talk About Then. John, the cartoon character that made its debut this week, 1929, was hired by, in the cartoon, a person called Castor Oil, a character in the strip Thimble Theater, to navigate his ship. Do you know who it was?
Steamboat Willie.
No. Castor Oil would be your first. O-Y-L.
Oh, Popeye.
Popeye. His first line to the strip, upon being asked if he was a sailor, was, "Do you think I'm a cowboy?" Oh, sassy. The Popeye character is based on a real person named Frank Rocky Fiegel, who was unusually strong and had a characteristic pipe and propensity for fist fighting.
What about spinach?
I don't know if that was just added. I bet you that was added because of the spinach company.
Did you ever notice he always got the spinach out of a can?
Yeah.
Which for that time...
Yeah, why not just grab it out of the...
I mean, I guess that's
out of the ground.
I wonder if that was the beginnings... I mean, they were canning things.
The canning industry.
But yeah.
It was like a promo for them.
If you're going to get spinach...
They wanted that thing where it kind of squirts out the top, too,
yeah, it squirted out of a metal can. Of course, he was very strong.
They'd be like, I got to find a can opener. I need this. I don't have to... How did he have the strength to squeeze the can?
Before he'd eaten the spinach.
That's...
Oh, we just found...
Want that? You're weak enough to... Okay.
Yeah. All
right. Anyway, Popeye historian Michael Brooks regularly sent him money. Popeye creator, let's see, hold on. Fiegel was from Popeye creator E.C. Seeger's hometown, and according to Popeye historian Michael Brooks, Seeger regularly sent him. So they sent this guy some money
because they're using his caricature, basically.
I guess. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he wouldn't have known. Like, how would you know? If somebody made a cartoon about you, would you know? Like, to be like, they owe me money.
That'd be a really boring cartoon.
That guy. That's
what
me.
would you call him? Popeye.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
Popeye the reading.
You seem like you got a little droopy in you. You know? Remember the dog Droopy?
I do.
You got a little. You
think I'd be like the dog Droopy.
You got a little bit of a. There's a sad awareness to you that I enjoy. That's my favorite thing about you. It's my favorite character. All right, here we go. Prohibition began, John, this week, 1920. The 18th Amendment goes into effect. While it did not prohibit the consumption of alcohol, it did ban the sale, manufacture, and transportation of the alcoholic beverages. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you already had it,
right? Hey,
drink away.
Right, but this is where bootlegging and moonshining and
why is it called bootlegging, by the way? Were people putting booze in their bootlegs?
Yes.
Were you drinking something that had been in someone's bootleg?
Why do I feel like maybe someone had a wooden leg at first and they were hiding stuff in it?
In like a hollow leg?
Go watch the documentary, Ken Burns' documentary on Prohibition.
Listen, I'd have to really, really want to get drunk to be like, hey.
You got any of that boot liquor?
It's boot liquor. That's good, John. It's an accidental pun. You win. John Muhammad Ali was born, Cassius Clay, January 17th. This week, 1942. Died in 2016. American boxer, 3-time world heavyweight champion. He was arrested, found guilty of draft evasion, and stripped of his title for refusing to serve in the Vietnam War. It's interesting, too, like, how history treats people. We talked a little bit about George Foreman kind of being this menacing boxer that he was kind of treated almost like a monster in part of his career. Like people were kind of afraid of George Foreman, and he was kind of a villain. And then he years later, he's known for being this really like baby-faced grill peddler who comes back and has this great second act where he becomes world champion again as a 43-year-old. Yeah. He was 45 actually. And I think it's fascinating how like history you just change your mind about things. Like now we kind of realize Vietnam was it's complicated. So it's like is it unpatriotic to not serve in the Vietnam War? 100% it was then. Like, oh, I can't believe this guy. And now I just don't know how he, like Bob Costas said that when he lit the torch, suffering from Parkinson's. If you remember the 96 Olympics, Muhammad Ali lit the torch. And Bob Costas was so struck by this, having covered sports for decades.
Yeah.
He said, if you had told me that Muhammad Ali, who was so reviled by the country in the 70s, that the mere sight of him, his trembling hand bringing the torch to light the Olympic flame, would bring grown men to tears. Like, the idea of those two things was so crazy to think, like, what history does, what time does to our viewpoints of people. And it's kind of, I think it's interesting. I'm fascinated by that. The idea of like, oh, we either we move on or we get new information or we let things go or people like change, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But he didn't change his mind about the war. He just thought it was an unjust war and didn't want to be a part of it. But anyway, that really affected his title reign, obviously. Like he was it took like 5 years away from his prime. So anyway, interesting. I think he's an interesting character all around. John, finally, the U.S. purchased the Virgin Islands this week, 1917. The treaty purchasing the Danish Virgin Islands from Denmark. Do you want to guess the price?
1917. I love these guessing games. Let's see, 1917. I'm going to call it $20 million.
$25 million in gold. It was ratified by the U.S. with the U.S. purchasing them the following week and taking possession 2 months later. The U.S. Virgin Islands are the only place. Did you know that? I know this because I just came from there. I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands as part of my cruise. I was in St. Thomas. And we drove the road. It's the only place in the U.S. where traffic drives on the left because I guess it was a British.
It was Dutch, wasn't it?
Dutch.
Or Denmark.
Denmark. So, yes. Yeah, so anyway, it was
Danish.
They drive on the left there still.
Huh. Did you drive?
No, but when we crossed, I was like, this is odd. Like, I realized, okay, traffic's coming. Yeah. You got to keep your head on a swivel, John.
Well, I did a thing, by the way, speaking of driving to the left.
Okay.
I haven't told you about this.
You were power sliding home, and you were like, I'm in the wrong lane.
Well, you and I didn't get to eat today as usual, but I have applied for a PhD program. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And
John's going to be Dr. John Driver?
Well, no. I haven't. I applied for one, and it turns out there was some miscommunications on how the program works because I can't do most of it.
You send $79.95, and then they send you a doctor's certificate.
Look, give me the certificate. No, you're looking at probably 5-6 years worth of work if I do this. But one of the programs I'm looking at, though, is in England. Yeah.
But you would do it online.
It's distance learning, but you have to go a couple times. I think 3 times in the course of the year.
Okay.
Of the
you
program.
Stay on the left side of the
that's the thing
information
I'm
highway.
Like, if I have to rent a car, I'm very stay on the left side of the
It's the information super highway, and you got to stay on the left side.
You do not want to get on the right side of that.
No, you'll get run down.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting.
It's one of those British horns, like "Ooga." It's like one of those old. I don't know how their horns work over there.
Their horns are so different there. Yeah, their sirens are different than ours.
Yes.
It's like hee-haw.
And the bobbies with the sticks and the things. They still have those. They have bobbies.
Do the police officers carry guns now there?
I don't know. They just say halt.
Right. They just come with their
seriously this time.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, that's great. So you're not going to do it now?
Well, I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back on some things, but I'd like to do it. It would be in history.
5 years, John.
It'd be in history, so it'd be okay. Yeah. But
do you want me to call you doctor after that?
Absolutely. We're going to open the show.
I'm Dr. John Driver. I'm a meteorologist now. You went from weather girl to meteorologist. Man, you're just so important.
There's a lot that has to come together.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it will. I'm excited for you.
You think?
I do. To me, you've always been a doctor.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that.
Not the kind that helps people.
No.
But like Doctor Who.
Was that on Friends where he said that? I am a doctor. He's not the kind that helps people. I think there was a show where that line was used, and I can't, because it was Ross, who's a paleontologist.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah. Well, I could see you being that kind of doctor for sure.
Well, I mean,
just being like, hey, somebody sent me this certificate. Everybody, look at me.
Well, for next episode, we could really mine the intricacies of my own paranoia over my motivations for this.
Oh, okay.
But
sure.
Yeah. You would love.
We love
I'm
to.
in on
I
that.
love to mine paranoia and motivations. That's my favorite. Did I mention I'm not a doctor? So there's a limit to what I can do for you, John. Why don't you lay down on the couch? We'll finish this off air.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Man, you should check out our website, though.
Talkaboutthatpodcast.com. If you go to that upper right, you can click there and get ad-free content. That's how you support the show. Go to the lower right. That's where you can send us a little note and say, hey, guys, love the show or hate the show. Whatever you want to say.
We got a nice note, a nice email.
Yes.
From someone who was on the cruise with you last week.
That's right. They happened to meet me on the cruise. They said something like they just discovered my comedy on the cruise, and now they were a loyal podcast listener.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So we got another one.
Come on, man. We're just building this one at a time. Listen, if we only reach one person,
then
we won't
what are we doing?
be able to keep doing this, probably.
No, that's not a good
We need
ratio.
more of you. So share with your friends. Go to JonnieW.com.
Yes, new tour dates going up every day, and then johndriver.com to find all your literary needs. Have all those met.
There's going to be a GoFundMe there for my PhD, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
We'll see. But hey, man, thanks for the time you gave us this week. And if you're out there in the snow, hey, be careful, guys.
Yeah. Even if you're in a Jeep and you think, I got this, maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't. Guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next week on Talk About That.